hypersonic nuclear missiles, Iran just made itself the most feared country ever, especially to Israel and the United States. This country recently unveiled ammunition that boasts capabilities and lethality that have not been seen before in previously developed weapons. And this has sent shockwaves all over the world, making nations bolster their defense system and tread carefully to avoid conflicts with this country. What makes this weapon feared in the international community? Does the United States have weapons to defend itself from Iran's missiles? Join us as we unveil the capabilities of Iran's new hypersonic nuclear missiles that shock the United States and Israel. Iran has recently revealed two extremely fast missiles that have both surprised and worried people around the world. These missiles have the ability to travel faster than any other military technology that has been created before. And aside from moving at great speeds, they can change direction easily and hit targets with precision. It has been established that speed is a very important factor in any ammunition, and this single factor can change the fate of any conflict. But when a single weapon boasts of speed and nuclear capability, one phrase comes to mind, and that is unstoppable destruction. It is no wonder why the United States and Israel are unsettled about the thoughts of Iran possessing such a formidable weapon that is capable of causing massive destruction to any target. Interestingly, Iran has become the fourth nation in history to have hypersonic missiles. The missile, Fatah, which means conqueror, is a medium-range ballistic missile that can disintegrate targets before the target even knows it's there. On June 6, 2023, Iran's first ever hypersonic missile was unveiled. The president of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, attended the unveiling. With a top speed of Mach 15, Fatah is not only one of the fastest missiles on the planet, it is also one of the fastest hypersonic missiles ever. Other hypersonic missiles attain a speed of Mach 5 in one of two ways. The first is by being an air-breathing traditional missile that's powered by a scramjet engine. As it flies and maneuvers through the atmosphere, scramjet engines, unlike conventional engines, have no moving parts because they operate by burning fuel in a stream of supersonic air that is compressed by nothing else but the forward speed of the missile. Conventional engines, on the other hand, burn slower subsonic air that's compressed by moving engine parts, not the aircraft's immense forward speed. The second approach to a hypersonic missile sees a hypersonic boost glide missile boosted to hypersonic speeds by rockets, disengage from the rockets, and then glides through the atmosphere towards its target by making use of lift from the airflow to maneuver. This second approach is what the Fatah appears to have taken, as the approach allows for insane levels of speed and maneuverability. It is this ability for hypersonic missiles to maneuver that makes them truly lethal. All of the world's ICBMs travel at hypersonic speeds. The initially unveiled Iran missile, the Fatah 1, is also a superfast missile, and it is their first missile of its kind. Iran says it can outsmart any defense system because of its speed and agility. The name Fatah means winner or victor in Arabic, and it was chosen by Iran's top leader. While some ballistic missiles are already very fast, Fatah is in a special category that only a few countries have. In addition to its lethal capability, this missile is considered to be a very accurate missile with two parts that uses solid fuel. It can travel up to 1,400 kilometers and move at incredibly high speeds. Its warhead has an engine that runs on solid fuel and can change direction easily. Iran says it can move in and out of the atmosphere and avoid defenses. It can even target systems that try to stop missiles, making it easier for other missiles to hit their targets. After Iran announced that they have hypersonic missiles, Western countries and their allies might revisit their strategies on how they protect themselves and look into bolstering their defense system to avoid being shocked by Iran's missiles. However, for Israel especially, Iran's greatest enemy, Iran developing its hypersonic missiles, poses a huge security problem because Iran supports groups that don't like Israel. The thought of Iran using hypersonic missiles that can hit targets very quickly and accurately worries Israeli defense experts. For this reason, Israel is also looking to work on its missile defense systems. The United States can boast of its very own lethal missiles, but while the United States has developed several nuclear missiles, it cannot be considered hypersonic. The American Minuteman III, for instance, can fly at an insane speed of Mach 23, is not a hypersonic missile because intercontinental ballistic missiles do not maneuver. and the parts that they travel are predictable enough for interceptors to figure out and intersect them. Another reason it is not considered a hypersonic missile is because it can operate as cruise missiles and only briefly peep into orbit at an uncommon altitude before dashing towards their target. This flatter trajectory makes the journey shorter and gives their targets less time to react. Even though the Minuteman missile is not a hypersonic missile, it played a very important role in the United States military. In 1962, it was designed to veer off the Soviet Union by showing that the US could hit their cities if they attacked first. But then the US Navy made a missile called UGM-27 Polaris that did the same job. This let the Air Force change the Minuteman missile to be even more accurate, so it could attack tough military targets like Soviet missile bases. The Minuteman II started being used in 1965 with lots of improvements to make it more accurate and able to survive if the Soviets tried to shoot it down with anti-missile weapons. Then in 1970, the Minuteman III became the first missile with lots of warheads that could each hit different targets. This made it harder for the Soviets to stop it. At first, these missiles had warheads with a power of 170 kilotons. By the 1970s, there were 1,000 Minuteman missiles in use, but now there are only 100 Minuteman III missiles left. They are placed in underground silos near Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota, and Francis E. Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming. These Minuteman III missiles will gradually be replaced by a new missile called the Ground-Based Strategic Deterrent, which will be made by Northrop Grumman. This replacement process is set to start in 2030. However, the U.S. Air Force did not think there was a big need for missiles with solid fuel. They were already making progress with missiles like the SM-65 Atlas and SM-68 Titan, which used different types of fuel that could be stored and kept ready to launch for a long time. These missiles could be stored in underground silos for protection and launch quickly if needed. This made them hard to attack all at once before they could be launched. But Hall thought solid fuel could make missiles even better, not just by making them launch faster or more survivable, but by making them much cheaper to build. He imagined a future where missiles were the main weapon for the US, not just a backup plan like the Air Force thought. To make this happen, they'd need a lot of missiles, which wouldn't be possible with the ones they had because they were too expensive and needed a lot of people to operate them. Solid fuel would make missiles simpler to build and easier to take care of. Hall's main idea was to create a bunch of places called missile farms that had everything needed to make, store, transport, and recycle missiles. He knew that new computerized assembly lines could keep making missiles all the time, and that just a few people could run everything for lots of missiles, which would need way fewer people than before. Each farm would make about 1,000 to 1,500 missiles in a steady cycle. If a missile broke, it would be taken out and fixed, and a new one would take its spot. The design of the missile was all about making it as cheap as possible. They made it small and simple because the main point of the missile was to be cheap for each mission it did. Other things like how accurate it was or how safe it was came second. Some people didn't like Hall's plan, especially those who were already big in the missile business. They wanted missiles that were super accurate, but Hall said the main point was to have lots of missiles to scare off the Soviet Union, not just a few really accurate ones. Because Hall often disagreed with others, he was taken off the Minuteman project in 1959 and sent to the UK to work on another missile. When he came back to the US in 1959, he left the Air Force. Even though he got taken off the project, his work on making missiles cheaper led to a new design that was much smaller and cheaper than before. However, many of his ideas for the missile farm were not used in the end. The United States inspired several nations with the development of its missiles, and soon after, the RS-28 Sarmat joined the force. The RS-28 Sarmat, also known as Satan II, is a very big and powerful missile made by Russia. It's meant to be launched from underground silos and can carry a lot of heavy stuff. It's supposed to replace an older missile called the R-36M in Russia's weapons collection. Russian President Vladimir Putin showed off the Sarmat along with 5 other new weapons on March 1, 2018. It had its first test flight on April 20, 2022. Then on August 16, 2022, Russia signed a deal to make and give out the Sarmat missiles. Finally, in September 2023, the missile officially became part of Russia's military. It's now the world's longest range and most powerful missile. This missile is a big one with 3 parts fueled by liquid and can travel up to 18,000 kilometers. It weighs about 208.1 metric tons and is 35.3 meters long and 3 meters wide. It's called a heavy missile because it can carry a big load up to 10 tons and has different options for what it can carry on top. It can have 10 big warheads, 16 smaller ones, a mix of warheads and things to trick enemy missiles, or fast-moving gliders. According to Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin, the Sarmat missile goes up into space really quickly, which makes it harder for satellites with sensors to track it. This missile can fly over the South Pole to reach targets in the United States, avoiding missile defense systems in the northern part of the country. But a hypersonic missile is not easy to develop, and only the United States, Russia, and China have previously invested in the development of hypersonic missiles until Iran unveiled the Fatah. And according to the Israeli Prime Minister, Iran's explanation was technically impossible. According to Laura Holgate, the United States ambassador to the International Atomic Energy Agency, Iran continues to expand its nuclear activities far beyond established limits and is producing a type of uranium that is hardly ever used for peaceful purposes, as Iran claims. According to Iran's state TV, this Fatah hypersonic missile, with its thrust vectoring rear, can bypass the most advanced anti-ballistic missile systems of the US and Israel, including the Iron Dome. Iran has also claimed the missile would be able to strike Israel in less than 7 minutes. With these references to Israel's defenses, Iran's intent with Fatah is not exactly difficult to guess. However, Iran has not described any actual launch or tests of the missile, aside from a ground test of the missile's engine, which does not prove much. The Iranian Defense Minister, General Mohammad Reza Ashtiani, has also announced that the Fatah has a reduced radar cross-section. This means the weapon combines both stealth and blurry hypersonic speeds to overcome air defense systems on its way to its target. However, while even modest radar cross-section reduction can help delay radar detection time, high-arching ballistic missiles tend to be pretty visible to ground-based radars. Overall, Iran may have come up with some technology to overcome this, but the world will just have to wait to find out as the weapon is put into service and more information about it is released. In service, it would inch closer to face off against its foreign equivalents it was built to challenge, particularly United States hypersonic missiles. In the last 4 years, the United States Department of Defense has spent more than $8 billion developing hypersonic missiles. $13 billion will also be spent in the next 5 years for the same purpose. The United States is going all out and holding nothing back in its quest for hypersonic missile dominance. Some of the hypersonic missiles that the United States has invested millions of dollars into producing is the AGM-183 ARRW, the long-range hypersonic missile, Hypersonic Air Launch Offensive. The first on the list is the AGM-183 AARRW. This missile is capable of Mach 20+ speeds. The AGM-183 AORRW is a hypersonic glide vehicle being developed by the largest defense contractor on the planet, Lockheed Martin, after the company received a $480 million contract from the United States Air Force. This missile is currently undergoing tests at the Edwards Air Force Base in California. Major success came on May 14, 2022, when the missile demonstrated separation from the B-52H Stratofortress bomber. Its booster burned for the expected duration, and then the missile accelerated to hypersonic speeds. The weapon works like this. First, a rocket speeds it up really fast, then it glides to its target. The United States Air Force was thinking about using B-1B bombers to shoot these weapons, with each plane carrying lots of them. The next on the list is the long-range hypersonic missile. This missile is also being developed by Lockheed Martin. It is a $41 million medium-range, surface-to-surface hypersonic weapon that entered service for the United States Army in 2023. This missile boasts of its 1,075-mile operational range and Mach 17 top speed. The U.S. Navy plans to procure a ship or submarine launch variant. The 8-ton weapon consists of a large rocket booster that carries an unpowered common hypersonic glide body, or CHGB, in a nose cone. Once the booster reaches significant altitude and speed, It releases the CHGB, which then glides at hypersonic speeds as it descends towards its target. HALO, or Hypersonic Air Launch Offensive, is an air-launched, air-breathing hypersonic missile with one mission: to sink ships. HALO is being developed by the United States Navy to address increasingly advanced naval threats of near-peer adversaries. On March 27, 2023, the Navy awarded 2 separate contracts with a combined value of $116 million to 2 defense giants to build prototypes that would compete. A leading design will be chosen from both options and further developed into a ramjet or scramjet-powered hypersonic missile fit for service. The 2 defense giants in a head-to-head for this weapon are Raytheon Technologies and Lockheed Martin. On March 28, 2023, the Naval Air Systems Command, also known as NAVAIR, awarded the defense company, Raytheon Missiles and Defense, and Lockheed Martin a contract worth $116 million. This contract is for developing and testing the propulsion system until a preliminary design review. It is expected to start in December 2024, and both companies will work on their designs to prepare for a test flight of a prototype. However, in April 2023, at the Navy League's Sea Air Space Conference, Rear Admiral Stephen Tedford, who oversees unmanned aviation and strike weapons at NAVAIR, mentioned that HALO might not actually reach hypersonic speeds. He said that the name HALO might be a bit misleading because the missile might only go as fast as supersonic speeds, which are slower than hypersonic speeds that have the start at Mach 5 and go higher than that. The Hypersonic Air Breathing Weapon Concept, or HAWC for short, is not even a missile at all. It can be seen more like a hypersonic bullet, which is a kinetic energy weapon that is without an explosive warhead. The Hypersonic Air Breathing Weapon Concept is a scramjet-powered air-launched hypersonic weapon project of the United States Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA for short. The principal director for hypersonics, Mike White, stated that HAWC would be smaller than hypersonic glide vehicles and could therefore launch from a wider range of platforms to strike targets that are up to 350 miles away. He also added that HAWC could integrate seekers more easily. HAWC has had 3 flight tests, the third of which happened on July 18, 2022. In this test, the weapon was able to fly at Mach 5+ speeds at an altitude greater than 60,000 feet. These are the American hypersonic missiles that Iran's Fatah is up against if it is to be decisive in international conflicts that are seemingly around the corner. But until they become fully operational, the capabilities of these missiles cannot be fully compared. However, this does not change the fact that Iran's weapon is indeed lethal, and Israel does have something to worry about. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.